The church does the unlikely. I'm gonna put a hat on. I'll be right back. My name is Zach, and this is my show. You know what else? I'm at my home. In my basement, you know it, recording on the phone, and I think it's just about the time for us to dive right in. Let's go. Welcome to the Zach Show. Wow. That was the chair squeaking. I just want to be clear. That was the chair squeaking. It was not me passing gas, although I did eat taco stuff today. You definitely didn't come for that. I can tell you that right now. Anyway, welcome to the Zach Show. Thanks for hopping in, for joining us. I'm excited to have you guys here, just hanging out with us. I truly have a great time doing this. I also have Maisie, my daughter, hanging out with us today. Of course, via baby monitor. She's currently asleep, so that's kind of how that works. So you hear her noise machine if you listen carefully. There it is. It's quite relaxing. We should do like an ASMR version of the Zach Show. I think that's what you would call it, right? ASMR. It's where you do the little fingertips on the mic. Anyway. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do that. We've been going through a series called Unlikely God, and week 1 we talked about how God uses unlikely people, mainly taking a look at the life of Moses, and not the entire life, just like really a snapshot of his life, but how he probably thought he was not good enough to be used by God. If you look at him in the burning bush up on the mountain, you can actually go back, watch that video, listen to it, however you like to get these things. You can go back and listen to it. It's week 1 of Unlikely God. But we looked at Moses, and we kind of looked at how he probably thought he wasn't good enough. Week 2, we looked at, I don't know why I feel like I'm out of breath from running and putting this hat on, but that's how I feel. A little mo cardio, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, week 2, we looked at how God shows up in unlikely situations. And last week, we talked about how God does unlikely things and how he healed a man of blindness on the Sabbath, which the Pharisees at the time, they deemed that to be a big no-no. To do any kind of good on the Sabbath was like, how dare you help somebody on today, the day that no one is supposed to do anything, and you can read throughout the New Testament and see more of that stuff. Jesus used an example of like, if you're a shepherd and your sheep falls in a ditch, are you not going to pull your sheep out? Like what? Yeah. Anyway, the Pharisees, they were a little misguided, to say the least, a little misguided there. Today, anyway, we are looking at more at the church, and I don't necessarily mean like church with a small c. Have you guys ever heard that example? You have church with a small c and church with a big C. Small c is like your individual church that you go to. Big C is like the church as a whole, right? Which can look wildly different depending on where you are. I mean, there's missionaries in countries that could probably get killed if people found out what they were trying to do, right? And then there's obviously here in the United States, we're able to worship God freely, which is phenomenal, and have really no fear about anybody trying to do anything. That's not the case in other places, And like I said, we're not specifically talking about like the organization or the business, but we are looking at the people that make up the church in that sense, right? Like where 2 or more are gathered, there I am with it. Like that's the kind of church, the people of the church. That's what we're looking at. And like I said, a church is a group of believers who get together and worship and praise God's name. And I think one of the best ways for the church to reach out to people is to do unlikely things, for people. So anyway, this week we're going to take a look at a Bible story in the book of Mark. And it's surprisingly short, but I love this story. And you guys know me. Well, maybe you don't, but you guys know me. I'm going to find humor in a lot of this stuff. But like I said, at least the part that we're going to look at is a little short. And it's this man who Jesus heals from being paralyzed. And that happens a few times throughout the New Testament. But the entirety of the story is actually a lot longer, but the meat of it is just the first 5 verses. And after that, once he gets into the Pharisees being angry about it and all that stuff. But anyway, we'll dive in. It's Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. So if you got your Bibles, if you're watching this, going to crack those things open. If you're driving down the street, just be ready because I'm going to read it to you. So Mark chapter 2, verses 1 through 5. It says, "A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above. Jesus by digging through it, and then lowered the mat. The man was lying on. I'm having a tough time reading today. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, 'Son, your sins are forgiven.'" So a few crazy things I noticed in this scripture. One, Jesus teaching at this house, and people are pumped about it, right? This was in the time period where I like to call it, like, he was like rock star Jesus, right? Everyone wanted to be around Jesus. It was popular to like Jesus. So this house is just jammed packed. And I imagine the homeowner, as I probably would be myself, the homeowner probably right up front, all proud, excited that Jesus is teaching. He's like, yeah, he's teaching in his house, right? He's like, yeah, look at all this cool guys up in here. My house is a popular place to be. You know, there's people like hosting events at their home, right? It's kind of like a sense of pride. You get to feed people. I don't know. It's fun to do. But then outside, you get these 5 dudes, right? I don't know why, but in my head, I picture 4 of them as the classic. I don't know if you guys can hear that as water running through the pipes. This is the beauty of being in the basement. Someone suggested I hang a sheet up behind me or something, but I don't know. I think it is a pretty nice little HVAC system. You guys should just check it out. Anyway, I picture, back to the story, I picture 4 of these dudes being like your stereotypical just jock type dudes, right? Like they're super muscular. They may be talking a deeper voice like this. You know, the one of these dudes, they got their homie on a mat. And I don't know why I'm sounding like that. I think that voice comes from when I used to play Madden back in the day. And every player in the game Madden had that same style of voice. You know, they'd be doing like little post-game interviews and stuff after you dominate the opposing team on rookie mode, and the reporter would be like, "How did you think? How's your team doing this game?" Be like, "Yeah, man, we all just really worked together. We passed the ball down the field, and we got in the end zone a lot more times than the other people." Like that's kind of what I'm picturing in my head. But these 4 dudes, they have this amazing plan, right? That they will just get their friend, the paralyzed guy, in front of Jesus, and all will be good. That's the plan. But then there's a problem, right? They show up to the house. It's jam-packed, and it's so packed that they can't even get through the crowd to get to like being in front of Jesus. Have you ever been to a concert of like a very popular artist? I used to go to concerts all the time. I went to a thing called Creation Fest up in Pennsylvania, like forever ago. I went to Creation Fest 05, right? And to get up front was extremely difficult. I mean, there's like thousands of people here. I think I heard my dog just bark. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's like thousands of people. So to get up front is a task. So I'm sure the guy on the mat is like, "Hey guys, you know, it was worth a shot, but it's all good. You know, we can go home now. It's okay. We tried, you know." And then one dude, we'll call him Chase, right? Chase is over here like, "Oh, nah, man, I got an idea. We're going to lower you from the roof." And then the guy on the mat is probably like, you know, doing the little nerd salute with the glasses. I do it all the time. Says, I don't even understand how that's going to happen. This is someone's house. It's probably a bad idea. We don't want to go through their roof and dig a hole in the roof. So Chase like rallies the other guys like, "Nah, guys, we're going to get him through the roof." And then they take him up to the roof, and he's on a mat, so he doesn't have too much of a say. So And this time, it's kind of important to note that houses were probably mainly made of like clay and such, not crazy strong materials, not like our houses today where you get like wood and then like a little tarmac and then shingles on top of that. It would be difficult to just use your hands and get through a modern day roof. But in that time, you could definitely probably just use your hands and dig a little hole in the top, So that's what they start doing. Well, they gonna dig. So they're digging through someone's roof. So you got to think too, to get a man on his mat in front of Jesus, the hole has to be sizable, right? I mean, you're assuming this dude is somewhere around 5.5 feet tall. I don't know why I'm picturing him as like a short dude, but yeah, you're imagining this guy. Like that's not a small hole. That's a pretty big hole, a 5 foot wide hole, so that they can lower this guy down on the mat in front of Jesus. So they did it. They kind of set their homie down and start digging in this guy's roof. And at a certain point, they're digging. What I'm thinking is that gravity starts to take place. And not that they're going to fall through, but like they're digging, but particles are going to begin to fall from the ceiling on the inside of the house. So Jesus is speaking, right? And the homeowner right up front, he's just seeing this happen. This like little light is starting to open up and they're lowering this guy down. And you're like, what in the world is going on to my house? What are these guys doing? And then all of a sudden this dude just descends from the ceiling and just plops right in front of Jesus. And they don't really talk too much about the homeowner's reaction, but if it's me and I'm standing up there next to Jesus and someone just dug a hole through my roof and a dude got lowered in front of it and you have this crowd of people, be like, what is going on? I mean, this is crazy. Even in today's world, people aren't punching holes in other people's roofs and lowering someone down through it just willy-nilly. But I think when it comes to situations like this, well, hopefully you guys aren't putting holes in people's roofs, but when it comes to the nature and magnitude of something like this, I think sometimes we might be a little selfish. I think sometimes we don't want to be inconvenienced. Like maybe we show up to that house and it's crowded and we don't think in terms of like, well, whatever it takes to get you in front of Jesus is what I'm going to do. We think more of the mindset of like, yeah, we tried, but let's go home. Or maybe you just don't even show up in the first place. Like you're not helping that guy in the first place. I think a lot of times we wonder if the task is worth it. Is us going out of the way actually worth what could potentially help this person? Or maybe it's just a hard task and we don't want to do it. I'm guilty of that sometimes. Sometimes these things require an effort that goes above and beyond, right? But we get so caught up in ourselves that we don't want to put forward that effort. We want to go sit on the couch and chill and watch our TV show or whatever. And maybe we think, well, what has that person ever done for me? Or we think, what is in it for me? But I think when it comes to the church, we need to go above and beyond for other people with no strings attached. These guys in this story, they did whatever they had to do to get their friend in front of Jesus. They showed up for him in a big way. They probably even went into it thinking it was going to be easy, and then halfway through, when it didn't pan out the way they thought it would, they kept going. They kept thinking. They didn't stop. They just simply thought, whatever it's going to take to put my friend in front of Jesus, that's what we're going to do. And when it comes to being in ministry, we are in the people business, and people are messy. So sometimes it's messy. Sometimes ministry gets messy because people are messy. All of us are, right? We're not perfect. We're flawed individuals. And sometimes you have to deal with tough situations that people bring to you. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions. And I think everyone listening to this and watching this, or however you're consuming this podcast, you are capable of doing that. You are capable of making tough decisions and doing hard things. Don't get me wrong. I think it's important to take care of yourself for sure, to be there for your family. I think your family is your first ministry, but there is a time to sacrifice as well. And you have to learn to kind of walk this tightrope, so to speak. I had to read a book in college called When Work and Family Collide. And the whole concept of the book is you're either cheating on your ministry with your family or you're cheating on your family with your ministry, right? So you have to kind of learn to walk this tightrope. Like sometimes you need to sacrifice professional career goals to help your family out. And sometimes you just sacrifice time with your family because somebody needs you in your professional world. But you can't constantly lean towards the professional world, or your family, who's your first ministry, is going to suffer, right? I was at a student camp, and I think student ministry camps is a great picture of sacrifice. While you are at that summer camp, everything that you do while you're at this camp as a leader is not for yourself, right? It is so that you can show and tell these students about Jesus. That is a week where you have dedicated and you have decided that I'm going to sacrifice a part of myself for these students. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you have done it. Some of you may not have known. You've never done it. If you've never volunteered for a high school or middle school camp, man, I highly encourage you to do so. My church is always looking for help. Of course, there's a process you got to walk through before you can do it. But at the same time, man, whatever your local church is, I'm sure there's probably a summer camp going on where some high schoolers need you to be there. And it's more than just being a chaperone. It's being an older, wiser person in a cabin of guys who are trying to figure life out, and they're trying to figure out who Jesus is and what he means to them and all that stuff. But when you look at it and you see that it is worth it, it's not worth it from your own standpoint. Like if you're going into it from selfish means, like what am I going to get out of this? And you're not really going to get much. It's about what they're going to get out of it, right? It's worth it for you to do it because of how much it benefits them. You lower them through the roof on the mat, not because you get anything out of it, but because it's the right thing to do, because you put them in front of Jesus. And that's all we can do, right? All we can do is show and tell people Jesus. It's up to them to follow him or not. It's up to them whether they pick up their mat and walk after they've had the interaction with Jesus. We can't actually save anybody. All we can do is point them to Christ. So sometimes you have to go out of your way for people. And here are some practical ways I think you can do it or plan for it. So here are some practical ways that you can go out of your way for people and even to plan for it. Number one, budget for it. Here's some financial advice. Never loan someone money that you cannot afford to lose. I would even argue to say, if you're loaning someone money, you should just never expect that money to come back. And it sounds kind of harsh maybe saying it that way, but if someone wants to repay you, let them repay you. But at the same time, don't hold a debt against them either. If you want to help someone financially, a great way I think to do it is to create an account at your bank. A lot of banks will let you have multiple checking accounts. A lot of them do it for free. I'm a big believer that if a bank is charging you money to have a checking account and to hold your money, I'm not going to bank at that bank, to be honest with you. But anyway, label this account, call it the personal tithe account. Now, you're not going to use this for yourself. You're going to use it for other people. Only use that money to help people. Fill up their gas tank with it. Buy them some food. Whatever the case is, you can budget for that. So when someone asks you for help, you don't have to think like, man, am I going to spend $50 to fill up their gas tank when I need $50 to fill up my gas tank? If you budget for it, it's not really a question because your gas budget and your personalized budget are separate budgets, right? And so now you can look at your personalized budget and figure out how much you can give to this person. Now, if you're married, you need to agree upon what that price is and all that stuff. But, that's a great way to where you can kind of go out of your way for people is you kind of plan for it, right? The next thing is to give up some time for it. Time is a valuable resource. At the church I work for, we say, how do you spell love? It's Time, right? Time is something that you can't get back. So when you pour into somebody from the aspect of you give somebody your time, they're going to notice when you do it. When you volunteer or simply show up for someone, they will remember that. There have been times when I have showed up for someone even kind of seemingly selfishly, but then later I find out how much it actually meant to that person that I just was in the room. That they were going through a hard time in life and I just sat there with them. And in the moment, I didn't think I did a whole lot, right? In the moment, I was just eating lunch with somebody and just checking with them. Hey, how you doing? You doing good? But to them, it meant everything, The other thing is when you are kind of giving up, going out of your way for other people, it doesn't mean you have to give yourself up, right? It doesn't mean that you have to become a doormat or anything like that. I think a lot of people at times forget that tough love is still love. You don't have to get rid of all of your boundaries for another person, right? Sometimes people will want you to do the hard work. Sometimes people will want you to do the hard work, but you have to point them in the right direction, right? Especially when it comes to finances. A lot of people, they just want you to give them money to get them out of the hard time. But really all you're doing is putting a Band-Aid on a deeper issue. If you're short for cash this month, giving you money to get through the month really isn't, it may help in the short term, but it's not going to help in the long term, because we need to look at why are you short this month? What happened? What corrections are we making so that you don't have to continue to do this? So instead of cutting them a check for $50 or whatever it might be better to be well, hey, why are you short financially this month? Helping them walk through their finances if they need help doing that, or at least pointing to someone who is good at that. Sometimes when you love somebody, it means you got to watch them struggle a little bit. I have, sorry, my wife's walking around upstairs. It threw me off a little bit. My daughter, and myself included, my daughter would eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, right? She would eat it 24/7. But what's going to be really, really unhealthy for her is if I let her eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So sometimes I have to go in and let her throw the temper tantrum because I said no. My daughter didn't learn to walk by me constantly picking her up and moving her from point A to point B. My daughter learned to walk by actually taking the steps herself and me encouraging her to take those steps, So sometimes don't forget that tough love is still love. You're not putting a Band-Aid on something. You're helping somebody out for the long term. Sorry, I just kind of skipped a whole section of my notes. Here we go. Remember this one big thing too. You can't save anyone. You might be able to lower your friend down in front of Jesus on a mat, but like I said before, you cannot make them pick up their mat and walk. They have to make that choice. You can show them Jesus, but they have to follow him. You can't do it for them, right? It's not something that you can do. You can't accept Christ for anybody. You can't save anybody. We have to point them to Jesus in that regard. And then my last point is this: be ready for it to be thankless. Don't do something for someone to get anything out of it, not even a thank you. Don't get me wrong. I think you should thank people, right? And it is a very nice gesture. It is a great way to show someone that you appreciate them, that you're gracious for what they have done for you. But when you are the one doing the thing, never expect it. Never do something to get the thank you, right? Let that be an added bonus. Do something for someone simply because it is the right thing to do, and only that reason. There's a movie that I love. It's one of the Rocky movies, but it's the one that's called Rocky Balboa. And in this movie, there's a scene where he is replacing someone's porch light, and the lady, as he's doing it, kind of stops, and she's like, no, you don't need to replace my porch light. You don't need to do that. And he's like, why? Your porch light's out. I have a bulb that works. Quick swap. It's fixed. And as he's doing it, the light kind of pops on as he screws in the new bulb, and she's like, well, what do you want? What do you want out of this? Why are you doing this for me? What do you want? And Rocky just responds to her, and he says, why do you always have to do something to get something? Can't you just get something to get something? It's kind of a weird way of saying man, why do we help people? Do we help people to get something out of them? Or do we help them to just help them? I think for us, for people who love Jesus, we help people to point them to Christ. That's it. but we can't save them either. You know, all we can do is keep showing up. All we can do is keep trying. All we can do is keep helping them move into their house. All we can do is top off their gas tank if we have that personal tithe set up. All we can do is keep giving advice. All we can do is sit in the room while they're crying and just keep pointing them to Jesus. That's all we can really do. So, look, thanks for joining us. This is the Unlikely God series. This is it. This is all 4 parts. So if you missed one, go back and listen to it or watch it or however you like to do it. I guess I'm supposed to tell you to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't know how. Maybe follow, depending on the platform you're listening on. You can listen to this to pretty much any platform. Spotify, Apple Podcasts are like the main ones, but I think I'm on iHeart as well, or Amazon Music or podcasts. I'm not entirely sure. At one point, I went through a bunch of links and just added my show to as many things as I could possibly find. It's free if you're ever looking to start a podcast. It doesn't cost anything to put your show on a platform. It's just a place you can do it, and it's actually really easy to do. So if you ever got questions, let me know. Anyway, I have a great time doing this. Thanks for listening, guys. This is Unlikely God, all 4 parts. This one wraps it up. I'm hoping maybe next week we'll start just walking through a book of the Bible. I think it's been a little while since we've done that. I think Habakkuk was the last one we did, which is really cool to walk through. So maybe we'll walk through like one of the letters or something, maybe like Philippians or something like that. I don't know. I just said that one off the top of my head. It may not. Maybe we'll walk through the Timothys, 1st and 2nd Timothys. Who knows? Who knows what we'll do next? But we put these things out. I put these things out every Monday, and like I said, I just have a great time doing it. It helps me kind of keep my craft going and everything like that. And man, I hope somebody can get something out of it too. So like, comment, subscribe, share, dream, love. I don't know, all the things you're supposed to do. I do want to start adding some segments to these things to try and make it more interactive. The only segment I can think of is trivia. I don't know why. My brain is the only thing I can think of that's interactive, where I can ask some trivia questions. I even thought maybe we'll start this next week. We'll see. But I can maybe do like 3 or 4 trivia questions where I will say the answer on the podcast. But then I'll leave you with what in my mind I'm calling the cliffhanger question, meaning that I ask you the question, but I don't give you the answer until the following week. So you got to come back. It's like a little hook. You know what I'm saying? I've also thought about adding some worship. I'm not a worship leader, so I don't know how that would go. I don't exactly have, it would just be off this mic sitting next to me here, my guitar and my own voice, but I don't know, maybe it'd be cool. Maybe we'll try it out. And if it's absolutely terrible, I just won't put it in there. I do have the ability to edit. I just don't want to. So anyway, once again, this is the Zach Show. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things you're supposed to do. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.
My name is Zach, and this is my show. You know what else? I'm at my home. In my basement, you know it, recorded on the phone, and I think it's just about the time for us to dive right in. Let's go. Welcome to the Zach Show. Wow.